Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Whenever you're watching this, if you're watching it live with me right now, hello. I'm so glad you're here. And if you're watching it at a later date, then I hope this really blesses you. I have a very clingy puppy. I tried to pop him down. He's not even really a puppy anymore. He's going to be 2 in February. Keep trying to put him down and then he keeps squeaking at me. So we'll see how we go. I might try and put him down again in a second. But I thought I would hop on and share with you day 2, 31 days of beginning again, just to kind of do it with you and just share like what God spoke to me as I was going through the day. Here are all my notes. You can see my scribbles as I processed with Jesus and let the Spirit speak and all the rest of it. So I just thought it'd be quite fun to kind of just do it quickly together. Hi, Janet, Carol, Yvonne, Kathy. So many of you, really nice to see you. Glad that you're here. So I'm just going to pray for us and then just share the thoughts that God showed me. And I hope that it will bless you. And also, just as an encouragement, it's not too late to join us. We've got a private group over on Facebook, but equally, if you're not on Facebook, because I'm not normally, let's face it, we have got a weekly Zoom that's going to be happening for those who are doing the 31 days beginning again. So you're so welcome to join us. It's not too late to join in. The pressure is off. I think the word again was my word of 2025. And I think it's a word that's going to be sticking with me for quite some time. I have got a new phrase for 2026, but we'll talk about that another day. But the thing about the word again is in our culture, society kind of tends to have this thing of like, if you can't do it first time, then you've somehow failed. And I think our walk with Jesus is never a one and done situation. Again and again, we're going to need to keep returning to his feet. We're going to need to keep coming back to the word. We're going to need to keep meeting with other believers. We're going to need to keep making space to hear and to be led by the Spirit. And so, don't be afraid of having to do something again. And if it doesn't happen the first time, or you don't have a perfect streak, which I've written about in today's post about I did the unthinkable. I quit Duolingo, shock, horror. 5 days before I would have reached 450 mind. Come on now. That has to be God at work in my life, right? So don't be afraid of again. Don't be afraid of not starting something perfectly. The important thing is that we do come back again to Jesus. So day 2 in 31 days of beginning again. For Grow, our passage today is Genesis 6, 5 to 22. And it says, read it slowly. Now, I am going to read it. And this is where it might get a bit complicated with the dog on my lap because I've only got one hand and I might knock things over. So sorry if it all goes a bit horrible, but my big fat Bible is here. So this is the NIV translation. And I am actually just going to read it. And then I'm going to take you through what God showed me through using the Begin Again journaling process and also, just what I sense God share and how I hope it will be encouraging to you as well. So Genesis 6, starting at verse 5, says this: the Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. Verse 8, but Noah found favour in the eyes of the Lord. This is the account of Noah and his family. It goes on. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on earth had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I'm going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. It's not exactly a very cheery passage for New Year, is it? But stay with me. It gets good. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood, make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. And then he goes into some detail. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide and 30 cubits high. Make a roof for it, leaving below the roof an opening 1 cubit high all around. Put a door in the side of the ark and make lower, middle and upper decks. I am going to bring flood waters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens. Every creature that has breath of life in it, everything on earth will perish. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of every kind of bird, of every kind of animal, of every kind of creature that moves along the ground will come to you to be kept alive. You are to take every kind of food that is to be eaten and store it away as food for you and for them. Noah did everything just as God commanded him. So that's heavy Bible. That is the passage on day 2 in 31 Days Beginning Again. And so it says, picture Noah faithfully listening to God's instructions amid a world full of chaos and disbelief. Sounds a bit like our world sometimes, doesn't it? Consider the enormity of what God was asking and the faith it took to obey. Let the story remind you that God often calls us to begin again, even when the path feels uncertain. And then something that I really love about the 31 days of beginning again is the second thing it always has after we've read the passage is glorify. And I don't know if you're anything like me, but I can be really tempted to like read a passage and straight away be a bit like, how does this apply to me? Like, what is God saying to me? Make it all about me, 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 me. And I think it's really awesome when we stop and we go, what does it tell us about God? What is he wanting us to see about his character or his will or his promises, his coming, so it starts to glorify. And here it says on day 2, God is faithful, even when the world is broken or human hearts wander. He provides clear guidance and safeguards for those who trust him. His plans are larger than our understanding, yet he equips us for every step of obedience. And then it says, as you read this passage, what stands out to you about God's character? And so here are the things that I jotted down that I hope will encourage you about God as we begin this new year together. So the first thing I wrote is he sees and then he speaks into the situation. Also, I noticed that he regretted. God can regret. I don't think that's something we think about or talk about very often. I also popped down that his heart was deeply troubled and he is not unmoved, double negative. So he is moved by evil. He's affected by it. It moved him. And I've put, do we think God wiping the earth is bad? I mean, there's some big stuff to wrestle with. In the first 5 books of the Bible, the Pentateuch or the Torah or, Moses' musings, I actually spent last week reading through it like quite quickly. Let's talk about that again another time as to why. But I just found myself so frequently being like, God, I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't like all of the like wiping out nations and the bloodshed and all this stuff. And it's okay for us to wrestle with these things and be a bit like, God, what were you up to in this place? So here I'd put like, wiping the earth. Like often we want God to take out evil. We want him to take out like the Hitlers, those perpetrating evil and wars. But when we do that, we start rating ourselves on like that person's more evil than that person, or, that person like, well, they can go because they're like a worse brand of evil. Do you know what I mean? And I'll come on to like how I grappled with that a bit more in a minute. The other things I noticed were he is a God of detail and design. He cares about the little things. And he is a God who establishes covenants. Another thing that I just noted down in this moment before I moved on to the grapple section was God only needed one man to begin again. And sometimes we can count ourselves out because we're just little old me, just a average housewife, mum, works part-time, got a dog on my lap. What's God going to do in and through me? Or, we just think that like, well, the world is so big and there's so much that's wrong and there's so many people that don't know Jesus and it's so hard to share my faith. And it's, we count ourselves out from beginning again or stepping out or trusting and believing that God can do amazing and awesome things because of the fact that it's just little old me and the problem is too big or the challenge is insurmountable in our eyes. But God just needed one man, just one, to be able to begin again. And I just was reminded again, like this theme we see quite a lot through scripture is in the middle of eradicating everything, God preserved a remnant. There was grace mingled in the judgment. He preserved a remnant. Okay, so that was my Bible time that I got from the glorify section. So then we move on to grapple. That's the next page. And it says, where is God calling you to step out in obedience, even if it feels risky or uncertain? What fears or hesitations come up and how might trusting him change your perspective? I wrote out verse 5 and it says, every inclination. was only evil. And I then wrote next to that, what are the inclinations of my heart? Not great, let's face it. The inclinations, the things I'm inclined towards are not as holy as I would like them to be. See you guys joining still. So I also noticed, I think it's really interesting whenever we're doing Bible study to see if there's repetition and if things are said again and again. And in this passage that we've just looked at, in verses 11 and 12, 3 times the word corrupt comes. Yeah, there's something to sit with and grapple with, right? So I won't give you all the ins and outs of the notes that I wrote on that, but that's a challenge. That's a challenge. Here's some of the other things that I noticed and grappled with from this passage. I wrote, God gave Noah such detailed instructions. I struggle to know what faithfulness or next steps look like if I don't have a clear outline of the plan. And that's where trust comes in. Or is it where waiting should increase, to wait for the divine download? We can be so tempted to rush ahead and zoom forward with our plans, or with a good and godly desire of wanting to be obedient and step into the things that God's asking us to do. But sometimes we're so eager to go that we haven't actually had that time and that space to wait and go, okay, actually, what is it that you're wanting me to do as we go together, God? Rather than full steam ahead in your own strength, partnering with him and going together. And then I really like verse 13 and 14 in this passage. Verse 13 starts, so God said to Noah, I am going to, and then he says, this is what I'm going to do. And then in verse 14, he says, I'm just finding it. So God says in verse 13, I am going to do all these things. Verse 14, so make yourself. And I just put, this is what I will do, God speaking. Verse 14, so make yourself. God said what he would do and then what part Noah had to play. Noah still had to pick up tools and use his hands. He had responsibility to partner with God in a practical way. Where is God asking me to make or to build? And am I doing it according to God's instruction? Hi, guys, those who are still joining. Really nice to have you here. We're just doing a little study in Genesis 6, using the 31 days of beginning again. We're looking at day 2, which is today, and I'm just sharing some of my thoughts. So yeah, it was just really interesting. At that point, I don't think God has said how or what he's going to do. So at that point in the passage, I've written, God hasn't told Noah yet that he would flood the earth. So Noah doesn't actually know why he's making a giant shoebox. That's what I wrote. Clearly it wasn't a shoebox, it was an ark, we know, but that's fine. We have no idea how many years it would have taken to build, to gather, to prepare. But in verse 22, it says Noah did everything just as God commanded him. He took him at his word. And stopping a timer. We see this again and again. Hi, Maria Victoria. Is that one name, or are you Maria Victoria? Beautiful. Hi, great that you're here. He took him at his word. And this again is something that we can talk all the day and all the night about. I love so many of the passages in the New Testament where Jesus says something and people, maybe it's the Father and he says, I do believe, but help me with my unbelief. Yes, awesome. Just so many examples of Jesus being your faith's made you well, go. And they haven't seen the evidence of it yet, but they take him at his word and they go, okay, so we've done grow in the word, we've done glorify and spend time where is God in this passage, what do we see in him? We've done grapple, where we're this is not always easy to read the Bible. The next point is gather. So let's gather. And it says this, it says, take time to thank God for his faithfulness and provision, even when circumstances feel impossible. Ask him for courage, clarity, and strength to obey his guidance, trusting that he can help you begin again. And then, there's some personal prayers that I've written down about beginning again, about clarity and courage, as we've talked about wanting to know what it is that God is wanting me to do, to partner with him. So where God says, I'm going to do this, you make this, some prayers around that, saying, God, you see us, you see my husband, you see my kids, you see my situation, my life, the heart I have for grow and go, all these things. And so just offering it up. And then the final part is go. Because I think it's really important that we allow the word to transform us, and we allow the word to take root in our lives, and let the Spirit speak personal application to us as well. So this one, just on day 2, says, choose one way to respond to God's faithfulness today. And then it's got a couple of suggestions, but you can do your own thing. First suggestion is identify one area where God is asking you to obey, even if it feels risky or inconvenient. Great time at the beginning of the year to be thinking about that. And the second, consider a practical act of obedience, sending a message, making a phone call, starting a task you've been avoiding. And then every day it always says pause and ask the Holy Spirit. And then it'll have questions. So today's question is, what instruction do you want me to follow today? And for me, this is what I put down. Walking the dog. Doesn't seem very huge or monumental, but it does a few things. It gives me fresh air. It lets me move my body. It means I step away from my computer. It is honoring and caring for our very highly stressful and needy dog. But it also relieves the load from my family and stops them from having to do it. And then I wrote, faithful in the small things, be trusted with little. And I wrote out from Luke 16, verse 10 in, gosh, he's got them all regularly, verse 10 in the International Children's Bible, actually. Love a children's Bible from time to time. Says, whoever can be trusted with small things can also be trusted with large things. And so then my final little prayer that I wrote, and maybe this will bless you today, was, Jesus, make me, that whole not give me, make me wise, give me discernment to know who is trustworthy. Help me to manage the time you give me, the responsibilities, my words, my thoughts, all of it. I want to be a trustworthy steward of all you ask of me. So that is day 2. There we are. We have the double spread there. And then we had the double spread on that next page. That's day 2 of 31 Days Beginning Again. I hope it has blessed you to just open up the Bible together. Oh, thanks, Kathy. If you want to join us and do it in community, it's not too late. When this video uploads, I'll put a link to the digital PDF version, which means you'd be able to just dive on straight away. Or you can get it on Amazon by searching 31 Days of Beginning Again by M. Tyler. I think you need to put the by M. Tyler in, otherwise you might end up with all sorts of other random stuff. And so that's an option. If you do decide to join us and you want to join the Facebook group, or you want to come for the Zooms where we will unpack and share every Monday, there'll be, then just send me a DM or reach out. You can send me an email to hello@mtyler.com. But yeah, I just really pray that this blesses you. And for those of you who are already doing this journey with us, I'm so excited for what God is going to do for each of us on this journey of beginning again. Not just because it's January and a new year, but because this is actually the lifestyle and the pattern of what it is to do life with God, is every day to begin again and say, Lord, have your way. Give me my daily bread, my manna for the day. It's a daily again and again coming back. And so I just pray, and I am praying for all of us, that we really do get to hear him and we get to discern the unique and specific things that he has for us, and just receive encouragement as we go on this journey together. So when this is uploaded, comment below, have you started? Are you doing it with us? What is God saying to you? I'm so excited, and I feel so honored and privileged that we get to go on this journey together. So thanks for your time if you've been here live, and if not, do feel free to reach out and say hi. Bye.